Today I'm going to be discussing the technological skills I used in Premiere to produce our trailer, which is 2.5 minutes long for Underhand. First one I'm going to talk about is how I understand how to use in and out points, and this is when selecting a clip, as you can see here, choosing those specific in and out points here. So this is where the clip will start, and this is where it ends, and I personally like to do that here using these in and out tools, as that way when you put it into your sequence it's exactly the desired length you want, and it makes editing a lot quicker and easier. And then here you can select that to just drag in the video file, or you select that one to just drag in the audio, and it just makes it all a lot easier and everything a bit more efficient. The next technique is using the cut, which is also known as the razor tool, and the selection tool. This is, the selection tool you need most of the time just to be able to click on clips. The razor tool you use to split clips, and this is essentially good for when you're trying to do match on action, or shot reverse shot, which I can show here, which you see when it's shot reverse shot for when we here, and you just cut it at a certain point you want, and then you match on exactly the point you need to. We did break the 180-degree rule here, but that was to fit in with the trailer conventions. And then again, another tool here on your sidebar that I use a lot is the track select forward or the track select backwards. This makes it a lot easier when you're moving a group of sounded images around. So for example, I could select that one, the forward one, and click all these clips here, and they would move together without changing any of the sound layers I've matched up with or anything with that. And it just makes everything a lot easier and a lot quicker. And then again, another technique that I use an awful lot is keyframes. Here, I use keyframes to fade in and out clips, but we mainly use it in our trailer for sound levels. So as you can see here, we use keyframes because this is our main soundtrack, a Audio 5. This was our main music, and here we just use the keyframes to allow the music to gradually decrease so that these sound clips here would be heard more, be a lot louder, and the main audio non-digested music would not be overlapping that sound, so you cannot hear it. Other than that, we only really needed to use the key points to fade in images or fade out images. It wasn't essential, as it may have been last year when we did the horror piece, where we could use keyframes to overlap different images and things like that. It wasn't necessarily needed. And again, another thing that we did use a lot was movement or motion, and this is because we actually had an issue with some of our footage. For some reason it imported from the camera incorrectly into the Premiere, so all the clips, if I reverse these, you will see they came in like this. So this meant that we had to adjust our positions here to be able to get them fitted onto the screen. This did cut out some of our footage, but luckily when we played around with the positions, moving it back left and right and up and down, we managed to get the majority of what we needed in the shot there, so it didn't affect it too much. Some of the quality was lost, but not massively, so luckily it wasn't too bad. We also did a lot of sound adjusting, and this was what we worked on a lot during our editing. First of all, transitions. You can see here we've put the control of constant gain, and this, as you can see here, and this just allowed the music to gradually come in instead of just all happening at once and just sounding a bit off and not flowing. And then obviously you can see we've layered a lot of different audio tracks here, and that's dialogue, music, ambient sound. So we've had to use the constant gain, or there's been the I just remember the name for it. That's it, the exponential fade, we use that as well, and this just helps our music to flow and all blur into each other, so that the audience, although they can hear the different soundtracks, they come in nice and gradually and it's not too distressing. We also use the de-hummer effect on some of the clips, just to rid, and the dialogue clips, just to rid any background noise that we didn't want in there, or at least minimise it. And again, we adjusted a lot of levels for the clips, and we also layered. So as you can see here, we have real difficulty with the sound levels for these. So we adjusted the volume level. All of them were at 6, because that's the highest one it can go. And we also layered them. So we had 2 of the same clips, both at the 6 dB, and again here as well. Just because that made the audio a lot louder and a lot clearer. And you can see we also did that for here. Another technique that I learnt this year for my advanced portfolio was matching post-recorded sound to the images. So if you listen here, so the ambient sound and the dialogue of the character chief here was all recorded post-filming. So we recorded this outside, and we had the volume on, but we actually wanted to post-record it, and we recorded it in a studio where a member of our group, Rory, used Logic and obviously like microphones to record him talking, and that way it was just a lot clearer, it sounded more professional, and it just fitted a lot better in with our trailer. However, this did mean that we had to spend a lot of time choosing the right, we took these shots several times, choosing the right shots matched up with the audio, and then choosing ambient sound that fitted in with the setting. So it's in a park, so we had the birds and natural sound, and it just made it very naturalistic, and it didn't seem too off-putting to the audience. Another time we also matched up was this shot here.
James, I know this is the last time we're going to be together for a while.
And we decided to post-record that audio, as you can hear here.
James,
because when we came to editing and we put that audio track in, we noticed that there was some really horrible background noise that we used lots of audio effects, the de-hummer and the delay, but it didn't make any difference to the track. You could hear the clinking of glasses in the background, and it didn't fit in with the shot. So what we did was we went down again to the music studio, and using a microphone and Logic, we post-recorded this with Josh, and he just watched himself back. He watched the clip whilst talking, and we then played around with it and made sure that it matched up. And then another technique that I used for editing was colouring. So on all the clips I added the Lumetri Cold Mix colour, and this was just to add it added a bit more warmth to the clips, and it created more of a cinematic look. So if you just see here, if I take it away, it's very subtle, the difference, but it does add almost more of a blue texture to the shot, a bit more warmth, it's a bit more saturating, and it makes it just this cinematic appearance, which again is all adding to the professionality of our piece. I also, in some of our shots, the brightness was too high, so I had to adjust those levels, and that was in this shot here. You can definitely tell that it's been played around with, but now it does look more naturalistic. So I had to play with the brightness and contrast, and I just reduced the brightness, reduced the contrast, and I just kept, it was Jenkins' skill, a play, I just kept playing around with it until I felt that I got the most natural look. Because if I take these away or return them back to normal, you will see that it's way too bright, it doesn't fit in with the rest of the shots, and it looks very out of place. Whereas now that makes it fit in a bit more with the other clips. And the reason why it was just brighter in that shot was simply because we filmed this shot and this shot on different days, and before the lighting was much better, whereas when we went to film this it was a lot brighter, and we did experiment with the camera with the ISO and aperture, but it didn't make much of a difference, so we just had to wait for that to do that in Premiere. And the last skill I'm going to talk about is how I've layered images, and this is mainly just, I did it with putting the logos in. So I created a black background and imported that, and then put Falcon pictures. So you can see there's 3 different clips here. So you've got the black background, the Falcon, and the open road. And I then adjusted the position scale of each of the images, just they fitted nice together, they were central, and they looked efficient and professional. So yes, I hope you enjoy listening to what skills I developed and I used for our trailer. Thank you very much for listening.